I don't really like doing a video like this because it's kind of disturbing, but I guess I will talk about it. Well, let me start off by saying this. Are you familiar with a movie that came out in 2006 entitled Jesus Camp? I never seen the movie all the way through, but I've seen clippings of it. And what I saw in that 2006 film, most famous scene is the church summer camp with the pastors that seem very evangelical and very partisan, if you catch my drift. And in that summer camp, they're speaking in tongues and all having all these prayers. And there is a life size cardboard statue cutout of President George W. Bush. And as the lady keeps praying and speaking in tongues, is go around and they're fondling that cardboard cutout of George W. Bush. I remember those years in the 1980s, 1990s, predominantly during the age of what was the Christian right, politically speaking. And it was, I felt like that movement set the country back in many ways. I'm not bashing people who are Christian. I, I'm not even bashing people who are very traditional in their Christian outlook, but I'm talking about a group of people who uses the scripture to push a hyper partisan political agenda. Jesus Camp kind of did that in that 2006 film. And while I do think in some ways the Christian right kind of slightly lost some influence from the 1980s and the 1990s, it was still a big part of the culture war, especially following 9/11. Many of these people who were with Jerry Falwell's Moral Majority in the 1980s and Pat Robertson's Christian Coalition and all these other people such as John Hagee and all these other folks out there, James Kennedy, all of these people had kind of a political agenda, and that was to serve the needs of big business, um, to serve the needs of big business, supporting a muscular foreign policy intervention abroad, supporting things at home that would actually kind of curtail freedom. And as I said, all this was part of the culture war. Some people casually call it God, gays, and guns. And so this movie with the Iraq war that was going on and the culture war that was going on at that time, where progressives were and secular progressives were and moderate people in general were tired of these religious busybodies trying to force their ways onto everybody else and acting like they were the biggest victim in the world. That's that movie was very disturbing back then. Now, that religious right culture, as I said, it was in slight decline during the Bush years, but it was still kind of there. Um, I think that the religious right movement in the year 2021 is a basically a shadow of its former self, but they still have agendas. They get on board, as I said, during the 1980s, 1990s, the heyday of the Christian right. and their thing was anti-communism in the 1980s. Their thing was, big business. Their thing was, you know, forcing prayer in school and doing the witch hunt against gay people, making sure they're shoved back in the closet. Um, you know, um, Stopping things like the ERA. Um, all this sort of thing that was going on back then. And then they changed their focus a little bit over the years. The Cold War was over, so they focused on the culture war really heavily during the 1990s. And you had, Pat Buchanan, who made his infamous culture war speech at the Republican convention in 1992. And boy, they pulled off all the stops to make sure that he would be heard nationwide on television. Contrast that with the Democrats last year, only giving AOC 1 minute to speak, things like that, and wanted to act like there's no such a thing as a left in the Democratic Party. That's what you have to contrast that with. But anyway, but that movie kind of resonated recently, and I'll tell you why in a minute. Henceforth the title, Jesus Camp 2. Now, here's the thing. If the liberals would have made a cardboard or just made a replica of President Barack Obama somewhere, whether it's at a liberal church or whether it's at some social function, you would Fox News, One American News Network, Newsmax, the 700 Club, right wing talk radio, and social media personalities on the right. You will never hear the end of them lecturing these liberals about how they worship Obama. Well, actually, they did. They accused the liberals of worshiping Obama. I think some guilt-ridden white liberals were excited about their first black president. Certainly, the African American community were very excited about the first black president in the United States too. But I don't think there was any movement that bowed down toward Barack Obama as if he was God. Sean Hannity claims that was the case, but it did not happen. In fact, if anything, I saw a lot of liberals, good progressives, get very disillusioned with Obama quickly. A lot of African Americans too. Why? Because Barack Obama was another politician. I saw replicas of Obama during the Obama presidency, but it was at Tea Party rallies, and it was a replica of Obama being hung from a noose. Was big old signs with Obama dressed up as an African witch doctor with a bone across his nose. Don't think they were worshiping him. They were. I think that some of these nutcases in the Tea Party were emphasizing the fact that they resented having the first black president. Now, I'm not saying that if you're conservative, you could be a conservative and don't like Obama's policies because they're liberal or progressive for what you think a liberal or progressive is, and may disagree with those conservatives that hate him on policy. But hey, can have a disagreement, and you can disagree with Obama and not be a racist in the conservative movement. That's totally fine. And I would understand and have a little bit of empathy. I was critical of Obama too. I was critical from the left, just as I'm critical of Joe Biden right now, the whitest white guy around from the left. Fast forward this to the year 2021, the Conservative Political Action Conference, CPAC, their yearly conference of having all the who's who of conservatives, and it's just a big old conference, basically, with speakers and policy positions, all that. I don't agree with it, but that's their side of the partisan divide, and they can do what they want. Here's the thing: they had in display a golden life-size statue of Donald Trump. That's even worse than the cardboard life-size replica of George W. Bush. I mean, it was creepy, very creepy, cult-like, and how hypocritical for some of these people who profess to be Christians to go and take gold and make an image of Donald Trump. Is that how much they simp for him? I'm a Christian myself, and I don't wear it on my sleeve, but I'm a Christian myself, and even if I was a conservative Christian, you don't have to be a progressive Christian or a conservative Christian. You could just be a Christian objectively and realize it's wrong. Even if you're a Christian that loves Donald Trump on policy matters, I'm sure there's a few that can discern between liking his policies but not worshiping him for those that made a god out of him. There is what is it? It is Exodus chapter 32 verse 35, I believe. Says, and the Lord struck the people with a plague because of what they did, what they did to the calf Aaron made. You know, that is disturbing. And I just wonder when and there are YouTube personalities out there like Wild Bill for America. He probably doesn't have a problem with this, with someone like him who claims to be all about scripture and make a partisan issue out of everything. Everything the liberals do is evil. If Mr. Wild Bill for America is listening, explain that at CPAC. Oh, I get it. Donald Trump is a Republican. It's okay when they do it. I am lost for words over this. I mean, there's I don't understand how people could be this just this led, this hypnotized by this person, a TV show personality who is kind of a failed businessman, but found a way to keep his wealth flowing. The biggest snake oil salesman around. As I said, I'm at a loss for words sometimes. What do you think? If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you were not seeing eye to eye, that's fine. Comment anyway. Feel free to share the content on this channel. as a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you that if you have a platform, utilize it because we're the muckrakers of our time, especially if you're passionate about things. Hit that notification bell, subscribe, and until next time, peace. I am American Social Democracy. Class struggle yesterday, class struggle today, class struggle tomorrow until we have full economic and social justice for all.